We turn our attention over to the Flyers now, Pete, because 2 straight days the Flyers have avoided arbitration, one at the last seconds before, and another one today, as Brandon Manning today, Brayden Schenn yesterday, and right now we're being joined by Sam Carchidi, one of the best Flyers guys you can find out there covering the team. Sam, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Good, Sam.
Sam,
Hey,
I want...
Pete.
What's that?
He said, hey, Pete.
Yeah, nobody cares about Josh.
No, we like Josh.
Pete's a celebrity.
Hey, Sam, you ever been to West
Hi,
Wildwood
Josh. How you doing?
before we get into the Flyers? You ever been to West Wildwood?
I have actually. I was there for a diabetes juvenile diabetes walk. I guess a few weeks ago. It was a benefit walk, and my nephew had diabetes, so but we had a great time on the boardwalk, and wow, it was a great place.
Wonderful. Well, before we called you, I eliminated West Wildwood off the map, so I ticked off all the callers. So I just thought we'd loop you in and let you know what's been going on before you joined us.
Okay, sorry to hear that.
Go ahead, Josh.
Sam, I wanted to start with Brandon Manning. This is the second straight day the Flyers have avoided arbitration, and Manning's deal looks like it's going to be 2 years, just under $2 million. So can you talk a little bit about how this deal came about so quickly after Brayden Schenn's got done?
Yeah, well, his arbitration hearing was a week from today, scheduled a week from today, and they did not want to go to arbitration. The same thing with Brayden Schenn. The players don't want to go to arbitration. The teams don't want to go to arbitration because, a lot of nasty things are said sometimes that you regret in arbitration. The team talks about the players' shortcomings, and they don't really want to do that about their own. These are guys that, have come up through their system. In Brayden Schenn's case, he was traded, of course, from Los Angeles, but he's been here for so long that, you hate to denigrate the guy, and that's usually what happens in arbitration. The Flyers have been fortunate. They have not had to go to arbitration for a while. Same thing happened last year with Michael Del Zotto. They were able to reach a deal, a few days before. So they work things out with Manning. It's not a guarantee, by the way, that Manning makes the team. A lot will depend on training camp, and Ivan Provorov will have a chance to make the team in September. Now, if he does make the team, you would think that either Manning or Andrew McDonald, one of the two, would probably go back to the Phantoms. They have to go through waivers, but whether they would clear or not, who knows? I'm pretty sure that McDonald, with his big $5 million a year contract, would clear. Now, Manning is a different story. I'm not sure if he would, but he's a 6th or 7th guy. He's not a guy that's going to win you a Stanley Cup, but he's a physical player, and he seems to be getting better all the time. I like Manning. I like his game. But again, there are no guarantees. Just because they sign him, there are no guarantees that he's going to make the team.
Sam Carchidi's with us, talking a little Flyers hockey. And, Sam, I have the sheet in front of me of the pairings for that last playoff game the Flyers had against the Capitals. That afternoon, it was Schultz and Streit, McDonald and Ghost, and Manning and Gudis, but I hand-wrote in pen on the top of it so that I didn't overlook the guy, Del Zotto. But like you mentioned in your article, it's a pretty crowded blue line with Provorov, and then don't forget about guys like Samuel Morin. I mean, how does Ron Hextall juggle that all out and try to figure out who plays and who doesn't?
Yeah, well, he claims that it's going to be decided in training camp, and we'll have to take him for his word. Sometimes they say that, and there is a preconceived notion. But I believe him this year. I think Ron sees what Ghost did last year, gave this team a shot in the arm, gave them some energy, much needed energy, and I think that's got to help Provorov's case. He's 19, and it's a little different case this year, as you know, Pete, because if Provorov doesn't make the team, he's going to have to go back to junior. It's not like he can send him to the AHL,
right,
because of his age. So. That's a key too. Now you could also keep him here for 8 games and give him a tryout, and then send him back if he doesn't do well. They've done that in the past, but Hextall's on record as saying he would prefer not to do that. So if you go by what he says, it's going to be decided in training camp. And personally, I think they need him here. I think they need some young legs. I think they have to start building for the future now. this team is not built to win a Stanley Cup right now anyway. So, why not give a young guy some experience? And Hextall, plays devil's advocate and says that, hey, there are things he can gain by going back to junior if, in fact, he does go down there. But I'm not so sure he believes that because, he was dominating last year. And Konechny's in the same boat. Konechny is a right winger who could really help this team right now. And if he does not make the team, he would go back down to junior as well. So he's got a tough call. If it was me, I'd have both players make the team. But if I was a betting man, I would bet that Provorov makes the team and Konechny doesn't. We'll see how it plays out in September.
We're visiting with Sam Carchidi. He's the Flyers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. You can also follow him on Twitter at Broad Street Bull. And Sam, the Brayden Schenn deal. Now, you've had a busy couple days. Here you are just trying to enjoy your summer, and bing, bang, boom. Brayden Schenn signs his deal, 4 years, $20.5 million. That's a $5.1 million average. How do you think that contract then, is that a fair deal, and how do you think that compares to some of the other guys like maybe a Kyle Palmieri or a Jaden Schwartz?
Yeah, I think it compares. It's in the ballpark. Let's go there. I thought they would settle for a little bit less. I thought it might be 4.8, 4.9. They wanted to sign him originally for Sean Couturier money, which is about $4.3 million. Weren't able to do it, and Hextall figures that if you went to arbitration, you only got a 2-year deal. You'd have to pay for it. When the contract came up, you'd have to pay even more for the 3rd and 4th years. So, I can understand that logic. Did they overpay? Maybe a little bit. I think they did. Schenn had a great year last year, but was inconsistent in his other seasons here, his other full-time seasons here. So, but, a guy that scores 26 goals and is only 24 years old and is on his way up, that's the going rate now. And that's what Hextall said yesterday in a conference call with us, that this is fair market value. And but again, he said he was not against going to arbitration, but if he could avoid it, he wanted to. And now Schenn knows he's here for 4 years. He does not have a no-trade clause, but the odds are that if he's as productive as he was this year, he will stay here. Let's face it, the Flyers need offense, and Brayden Schenn is one of the few guys that can put the puck in the net. I thought he took some great strides last year, and on the power play, and he's very versatile. I think sometimes that gets overlooked because there aren't many guys that can play left wing, right wing, center, and not really skip a beat. I think he's pretty adept at all three. Will he take the next step and become a 30-goal scorer? That remains to be seen. But that's what they're hoping for, and if he does, it'll be a real good signing. I think what this signing does, it shows just how underpaid Wayne Simmons is, because to me, Wayne Simmons is a more complete player than Brayden Schenn, and they have him for $3.9 million for a couple more years. So Wayne Schenn will have a big payday. Not that he doesn't have a good contract now, but he will have even a better contract in a few years.
Sam Carchidi talking with us. And yes, Sam, if you look at Brayden Schenn's numbers pre-All-Star break and post-All-Star break last year, he seemed to get stronger in the second half of the season. The numbers tend to support that. He had 14 goals versus 12, 19 assists versus 14, more points. He was +5 instead of -5 for that stretch. And, you go through the wingers in that last game, and again, I referenced this last line sheet of their last playoff game, and Schenn, Giroux, Simmons on the top line, but if you just go down the left wingers, and that's where I thought the Flyers had the biggest need, Schenn, Voracek, Reed, and Vandevelde were the 4 left wingers in that game. So did the Flyers improve themselves anywhere in free agency to sort of solve some of their problems?
Not really, to be honest with you. I mean, they picked up a right wing, Dale Weiss, who is kind of like a journeyman guy. I mean, he's a hard-nosed player, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to score you 25 goals. They picked up Boyd Gordon, a good face-off guy. He's going to help, I think, on the penalty kill. So I think they did improve there slightly, and that's important. We saw their penalty kill, which really struggled last year. Their power play really struggled last year, too. They really need – I think they have to get improvement from within because they didn't have a lot of cap space this year. If you look at Jake Voracek, I don't think there's going to be another year where he scores 11 goals, and he was invisible on the power play. So, you look at the power play last year, I think they were like 3 for 24 or 2 for 20, maybe even 1. I can't remember. It might have been 1 for 24 in the series against Washington, and including a full 2-minute power play in the 1-0 game they lost in Game 6. I'm pretty sure they were 1 for 24 in the entire series. If they score a couple of goals, that was a very winnable series, I thought. Washington was not a dominating team in that series by any stretch, and Michael Neubert was a dominating goalie when he got in there. So they could have stolen that series with some better power play production. They just didn't have it in that series, but they're going to have to get it from within. Voracek has to step up. Claude Giroux, who was injured, and we saw that in the playoffs, he's going to have to step up. He'll be healthy, and that will help him. But I think we're pretending ourselves if we say this is a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. The year after, they're going to take some steps because they're going to have Mark Straight's contract off the books. They will have room to sign a free agent who can help them. You're talking about left wings. They can get a left wing at that time. And some of these young defensemen will be ready. And Konechny, I think, will definitely be ready. If he's not ready this year, he'll definitely be ready next year. So, this is a bridge season for me to get to the next season. Will they contend for a playoff spot? I think they certainly will. Almost everybody does. But I don't see them as Stanley Cup contenders. The year after that, they'll be a much more legitimate team.
We're talking with Sam Carchidi here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN on Tuesday with Thompson. Sam, I want to circle back to Brayden Schenn because I've heard a lot of different opinions from different people about what we can expect Brayden Schenn to be, whether he is eventually going to be one of the team's top scorers, if he's going to be a mid-level talent, a high-level talent. It seems like the opinion varies depending on who you listen to from day to day and week to week. So I want to ask you, with this 4-year contract and with the money that the Flyers are giving him, what do you think the Flyers think Brayden Schenn is going to become?
I think they think he has 30-goal potential. And, you look at it, he's knocking on the door. I think Pete cited the statistics. He did not have a good first half of the year. He was very consistent the second half. But, if he puts 2 good halves together, 30 goals is within reach, and he's going to get even more power play time, I think. And if you can get a 30-goal scorer for that kind of money, I think, they'd be very happy. But he's a hard-nosed, physical player. They like that about his game. And, as I mentioned before, I like the fact that, to me, I think right wing actually may be his best position. He just seems more fluid there. He doesn't have to worry about playing as much defense. That said, he was productive at center and productive at left wing. But to me, and he's told me this, he feels really comfortable at center because he's played there so long. But if he has to go to wing, he feels more comfortable on the right side. As you mentioned, they played him a lot on the left. But give him credit because, as I said, they've asked him to fill a lot of holes because they're missing a lot of pieces, and he's a good soldier. He's played wherever they've asked him, and he's played well, which isn't easy to do. It's hard to move around. We saw that with Jeff Carter. When Jeff Carter was here, they tried to play him at right wing a little bit. He's played more right wing with the Kings than he did with the Flyers, but he was dead set against it. He really wanted to play center and kind of made that known. But Schenn's been a good soldier, and he'll play wherever you ask him, and he gives a hard-nosed effort every time out there.
Brayden Schenn, in the media conference call that you guys had yesterday with him, he talked about the fact that he was kind of just sitting in the hallway watching people walk in and out of arbitration. And I was remembering that when I was listening to the NHL Network last night, and Scott Gomez talking about how he went to arbitration twice with the Devils and he won both times. And I remember Brayden Schenn saying how at some points he was getting nervous because of how many times they're walking in and out of the rooms. So can you speak to the fact of how this deal literally got done with minutes before the deadline?
Yeah, and actually it passed the deadline because they asked for an extension. His hearing was supposed to be at 9 o'clock, and I think they got it done at 9:45. So, they delayed it because they were getting close. And as I said, both sides did not want to go because, nothing good can come out of it. Let's put it that way. Because the players trying to knock down the team is trying to knock down the value of the player, and the player remembers that. So, it creates ill feelings. But, thankfully they got it done. And Schenn could end up in a lot of places next year. He could end up left wing on the top line. He could end up centering the second line. If you move Couturier around, he could end up right wing or left wing on the second line as well. So, that versatility makes him valuable, and I think both sides are happy. The Flyers would have liked, as I said, to have done like a Sean Couturier deal, but all things considered, I think it was a pretty fair deal.
Couturier, who we now know has a street named after him in Bathurst, New Brunswick, thanks to your article. We're visiting with Sam Carchidi here on 97.3 ESPN.com. Sam, I saw some video the other day on Comcast, and it was shot by, I think, Jimmy McCrossan or one of the trainers. It was Claude Giroux skating for the first time since his surgery, and then they followed that up with numbers that, I wish there was a Pittsburgh fan next to me or a Blackhawks fan. Most NHL points the last 5 seasons, 367 Claude Giroux, 366 Sidney Crosby, 360 Patrick Kane, 352 Alex Ovechkin, and then I'll even throw in Jamie Benn because he was on the graphic too, 351 Jamie Benn. But boy, Flyers fans they really kill Claude Giroux. What more do you want from the guy?
Yeah, I agree. And I think this year, he got killed during the playoffs. People were saying, where is he? He's invisible. But, you could see he was hurting. And to his credit, he didn't use it as an excuse. In fact, he denied he was injured. And then, of course, after the season ended, he had the hip and abdominal surgery, same surgery that Shane Gostisbehere had. And Gostisbehere also, I thought Gostisbehere's play kind of tailed off the last 4 to 5 weeks of the season. And he said that nothing was wrong. And I even asked him, I remember talking to him with about 2 weeks left, I said, you feel like you hit the wall because, you never played this many games. And, again, he's a hockey player. He didn't complain, and he said he was fine. He wasn't tired and had nothing to do with, playing more games. But then after the season, they announced he has to have surgery too. So, that played a big part in his effectiveness, or I think he would have scored over 20 goals. I'm real anxious to see what both those guys do coming back off of the surgeries. I think we'll see Giroux get close to 30 goals this year, and I don't think it's out of the question to see Shane Gostisbehere get at least 20 goals. So, I think the productions, as I said before, I think they have to get it from within because they weren't able to get any marquee free agents this year. So they're going to look for guys like Gostisbehere to improve on his tremendous season. Going to look for Giroux to improve. They're going to look for Voracek to improve. And get more contributions up and down the line. Matt Reed had a very dismal year for the second straight year, so they have to get improvement from him as well. So, if all that happens, they'll be in the playoff hunt.
Good old hockey players. Deny until you must give it up, right? I guess.
Until you go into the knife, right?
Sam Carchidi talking a little Flyers hockey with us. So most of the guys then, I guess, now are in the fold. Gudas was one of the guys they had to signed up. Brayden Schenn got that done, right? We saw the Manning deal. What's left now between now and training camp?
Yeah, they can. Ron Hextall can take a deep breath now and kind of look at his team, and because all the places, as you said, all the spots are in place, and it's going to be interesting to see how camp goes because they're only about $1 million under the cap right now, a little over $1 million, and but they'll get more relief because they will send somebody down. Right now they have 14 forwards. Figure they'll carry 13, and and one of the defensemen could go back too because, as I said before, McDonald could end up going back to the Phantoms, and Brandon Manning, even though he signed today, could end up going back. So, they're going to get a little more cap space. Hextall had said that he wanted at least $2 million in cap space. He will have that because when they send a couple guys down, he may even have upwards of $3 million, which is important because you want to have some flexibility. So if you are making a run for a playoff spot, you can add somebody. Especially at the trade deadline later in the year. So I think he's going to have some flexibility. Not quite as much as he would like to have, but he will have some. And as I said, next year, when Mark Stright's $5.25 million cap hit comes off the books, he'll have a lot of room. And, you'll see some marked improvement, I think, in the offseason next year.
And then what's the date? What's the timetable? Because we're at July 26th. When is the next significant date for Flyers fans for training camp and all that?
Yeah, they didn't have the official date when I talked to them last week. It was tentative, like September 17th, somewhere around there, where the rookies would report, and about a week later, the veterans would report. Their camp this year is in Voorhees again. Sometimes, they've gone away
right.
For a week or sometimes even 2 weeks, but this year they're going to stay in Voorhees, and I think things should run a little bit smoother this year too. Not that they didn't run smoothly last year. But you have Dave Haxtell with a year under his belt, and that'll help him. And there's going to be some interesting battles. I mean, some of them are at center on the third line. Scott Lawton's one of the guys battling for a job, and Nick Cousins is battling for a job. We talk about the defensemen battling for jobs, and will Ivan Provorov make the team? Will Travis Konecny make this team? And the big one to me is the goaltender. I mean, I think you have two very capable goaltenders. I mean, Mason gets knocked a lot. You talked about Giroux getting criticized. Mason gets criticized a lot too. But to me, Steve Mason is a solid goaltender, and he went through some personal issues last year. I think this year his mind will be focused, and I think he'll come back real strong. So I think you have two really solid goalies, and it's 50-50 as to who's going to win the job. That'll be decided in training camp as well.
We've been talking with Sam Carchidi. You can follow him on Twitter at Broad Street Bull Street, the shortened version, ST Bull. Flyers beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Sam, I appreciate you joining us on air today. Sam. And I hope you were able to stay hydrated and cool yesterday in the heat.
Yeah, well, actually, we were I run the Philadelphia Sports Writers golf tournament. We have a golf tournament every year at Bala in Philadelphia, and they do a great job for us. It benefits the Adam Talaferro Foundation. So we were out there, believe it or not, braving the temperatures, but we were drinking lots of water and Gatorade, and we had a real good time. I have to get you guys out there next year because it's a good time. We raised some money for a real good cause, but we were not deterred by the 98-degree temps, so we all had a good time.
Well, I can tell you, Pete is a better golfer than I am, so he might be a better ambassador.
My best club is my lip wedge, Sam. That's my best club.
You're in next year. We got you signed up, Pete.
Sounds good, buddy. Great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on with us.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.